for the signups earlier on. We have a Grand Circuit hat from the Harness Racing Fan Zone. This goes to D. Henson. D. Henson, are you still here? All right. I see some hands. Oh. There you go. You're welcome. Yeah, I only have one more prize to give out. Where'd it go? One more prize. This goes to Lane Van Gordon. Lane Van Gordon, are you here? I see a lot of hands coming up, but I don't see a lot of Lane Van Gordons. Well, I'm going to give it to Jeff Holdorf. Are you here? One more try. Dave Critchlow. All right. Well, thanks anyway, and thanks for signing up, everybody. Let's get started, because I got a guy who drove all the way down here from Ontario in the middle of the night because he's really excited about his new fractional ownership stable that he has here. And I think that even if you are involved in the industry and already own horses or breed horses, just wanted to share a new way that we can both bring new owners into the game, attract new investment, and also get some fair market value for those people who are breeding and producing yearlings as well. So thanks everybody for being here. Remember, we have free coffee and donuts courtesy of the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association there, so help yourself. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Anthony MacDonald. I think you're on. Try it again.
Hello? Yes, I am.
All right. So here's the format. Anthony's going to tell us about his stable. And if you have any questions at all at any time, please raise your hand, and I'll come by with the microphone. And I'll make sure to have you ask your question, and Anthony will be happy to answer it. So,
Certainly will.
Anthony, thanks for coming down.
No, it's great. I mean, I thought the next time I'd be in Delaware, I'd be driving in the jug. I didn't think I'd be talking beforehand. So it's good to be here. I mean, I missed my flight last night in Buffalo, and I was scrambling around. I was actually down here last week for both the sales, the Ohio Select sale, and then I flew to New York. So I've been on the road for the past 10 days, and I didn't really want to drive down again. It's a 6.5-hour drive. I don't mind the drive, but I'm not real particular about it in the middle of the night. So my brother Curtis, he always comes to the jug, and he didn't come down this year. So I called him out and I said, "Hey, you're not going to the jug?" And he said, Nah, I didn't get anybody to go with. I said, "I'll be back in half an hour. Get your stuff ready."
What time was this yesterday?
Oh, like 8 o'clock at night. We got here at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was up at 7, and then I knew he didn't want to get up at 7, so I got Uber to come and get me, which was good. I didn't get killed or anything, so it was good. Yeah, so it's great. I mean, I love this atmosphere. It reminds me of home all the time, you know, and all the places. I love Ohio. I know everybody says that when they're in Ohio, but I really do love Ohio. I love coming down here. The place is fantastic, and obviously it's special to come down here and speak to a lot of people about what we're doing and the importance of what we're doing. I mean, for the people here today, the importance of what we're doing to you likely is being able to be involved in horse racing for a fraction of what it would have cost you. I've had people email me all week and call me all week, and people that never ever would have been able to afford a horse or get involved in horse racing, and they are now. They own shares of horses, and it's really something to see. You know, when somebody emails you and said thank you so much, you know, I never thought I'd be able to own a racehorse. And my husband and I, you know, I've had people drive from New York to the barn to come watch the horses jog and train, and it really is shocking, and it's a great experience, and it's a great feeling for me and my wife. I know that for certain. And somebody asked me, they say, you know, what's it like being involved with 100 owners? I said, well, think of it this way. Try and remember what it was like the first time you ever owned a horse or brushed a horse or were involved in the industry, how exciting it was and how fun it was. I'm around those people every single day. So for me, it's the greatest part of horse racing, day one in horse racing every day, and it's such a great feeling, and you know, when people look at it, it's really shocking that we have so many extremely intelligent people and smart people involved in this industry, and I really believe what we've built here, and it wasn't built specifically to operate in this manner.
Well, tell us what it is first.
Okay,
I
so
gave you a little I mean, let's assume that nobody knows what you're talking about, but we are talking about thestable.ca.
Yeah.
And tell us, I mean,
Yeah.
basic bare bones, what is the program?
It's simple. So what we do, we either have breeders send us horses, or investors buy our horses, or we buy them ourselves, and we piece them out all over the world. What I mean by that is you can buy 1% of a horse. So the other day at the select sale, we bought 6 horses. We bought 5 the next day in New York, and those were investors that were buying those horses, or myself and my wife. And I sat there all day, and for the people that were at the select sale on day one, you realized how high the prices were. So the only way that the stable.ca can function properly is if we find value for our customers. We can't buy horses for 50 that are worth 30 and expect to pass any savings on. So I literally watched 162 horses go through the first day, and we bought 1. And that's just how it was. The second day, it was a little easier to buy a horse, and we ended up with 5 other ones. But if we didn't end up with any, we didn't end up with any. I mean, the only way that this operates is if we have an opportunity to pass the savings on. So the first colt that we bought was $13,000. We had them sold, actually, I bet you, before I found a beer. I know that. So we had them completely pieced out. So 1% of that horse, in theory, would be $130 American plus taxes coming across the border. So for people that understand, and for me, the reason this started, the way it started, was I was involved in politics in the last election in Ontario. So in Guelph, the place that I was running in has about 126,000 people in it. And when I would knock on doors, I must have knocked on 20,000 doors in 2 years. And every time people would say, oh, you know, you're the horse guy. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm the horse guy. And they'd be like, and before I left, I would always ask them, I'd say, you know, have you ever owned a horse? Oh, no, it's too difficult, it's too complex, it's too hard. Well, have you ever been to the races? No, never really had a reason to go. I like horses, and I actually like horse races. I never went. So if you're telling me the only reason that thousands and thousands and thousands of people haven't been to the track is because they don't have a reason to go, if they owned a horse, they'd have a reason to go, but it's too complex and it's too expensive. So if we can fix the issues that we have with the complexities of horse racing and the expense of horse racing, I would assume thousands of people would come to the track every year, more. And that's exactly what they're going to do, and that's exactly what we are going to show the rest of the industry, what we can do for it.
Okay, so you said you get your inventory, your horses,
Yep.
you get yearlings, you either buy them at the yearling sales or breeders send you the horses.
Yep.
And tell us what happens after that when you have all the horses in your stable.
So they're not all on the site right yet because we wanted to get all our horses in and get them all broke. There's no point in breaking them pieces by pieces. So.
Yeah, well, let's stop you right there. We're going into the second year of the thing, so
Yep.
it's brand new, but it's not brand new. So let's talk about last year going into 2016.
Yep.
You got, how many horses did you get in the stable, and then what happens then? What are your training bills? How do you find investors? Let's talk. We're in January or February of 2016.
Okay. So most of our investors either came online or through word of mouth or through the advertising we did with the USTA or Standardbred Canada. But most of our investors we found came from the general public. Every time that we had a write-up or a news story in the newspaper in Toronto or we were on a TV show or a radio show, we would sell an enormous amount of shares to the general public. So what you would do is you would go on our site, you would see the prices of the horses, and they'd be all broke down per share, per 1%. So you could buy 1% of horse X for $187 Canadian. Your bill every single month for 1% of a horse was $22.60. That's it. Because our flat rate fee for training the horses down was $2,000 per horse, plus the taxes in Ontario is $2,260. You break that up into 100 shares, it's $22.60 per share, per horse, per month. In March, we had the staking fees. Again, if you own 1% of a horse and your stake payments are $800, it's $8. So for the people that were concerned that they couldn't afford these horses anymore, now they can, and that's what we do.
Your general training bill was 22. What
Yep.
happens if there's a big vet bill?
So that's a great question. So we do have, if we were lucky enough, we didn't have any colic surgeries or whatnot last year, but any of the emergency fees that come up, obviously our job is to take care of the horse first. But secondly, we did have horses that had small OCD issues, and we had to have the OCDs removed. Now, what I did was I took the horse to the veterinarian, my wife and I. They would x-ray or fluoroscope the horse. If there was an OCD that needed to come out in the eyes of both the surgeon and the vet, we would then send an email to the ownership group saying, listen, we have an issue. There is a small OCD. Both the surgeon and the veterinarian recommend that we remove it. The cost for that is $1,700. Now, we did that maybe 6 times last year. Again, $1,700 broke down into the investment group isn't a massive thing, and it's going to help the horse's longevity of his racing career immensely. So it was never ever an issue. It was always immediately go ahead and do it. So if it comes down to a money thing, then obviously that's something we want to work out with everybody. But we're here to be as fluid as we can and flexible. And you know, if you go on our investment page, you can see the testimonials from our owners. I didn't hound anybody for them. I had a girl, a lady that's a retired Toronto Star reporter that actually made that report. She sent out one email saying, if you have any testimonials, send them along. We had to stop taking them at 35. You know, the people are just very excited and happy about what went on.
And does the $22 a month, that $2,000, is that your trucking,
No,
your
so-
pre-race and everything like that?
No, it's a great question. So after June 15th, the stable.ca ceases to run. So it sounds difficult, but it's not. My wife and I do train them. She'd be down as trainer, but we don't handcuff ourselves into thinking that every ownership group or every one person that sends us a horse would like us to train the horse during its racing career. Somebody may just want us to train it down and pick the horse up. So Anthony and Amy MacDonald would take over the training of the horses at that point. Now, we've retained all the horses this year, but we give everybody the option also. If they want out or if they want to move their horses, then that's so be it also. The only added costs after that $22.60 for the summer would be your staking fees on race night, veterinarian costs, shipping, and paddock fees, things that we can't control throughout the month. So there'd be no point in me trying to tell you there's a flat rate for that, because if the horse isn't in a stake race or only races twice as opposed to 4 times, I'm going to be getting ahead of you for some money, and it's just not right. So we try and keep everything on the table and up front so that everybody can see what's going on in the stable.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
For those of you just joining us, we're talking with Anthony MacDonald of the stable.ca, and it's a fractional ownership group in Ontario. They had a great year, and we're going through their success and their challenges from 2016. Going back to February 2016, you said you trained all the horses down. Tell us about the communication you had for the partners and how they could follow along with those horses while they were in training.
Well, the business cards that we gave out and some of the literature that I brought, all the phone number on that is my phone number in my back pocket. The email on that is my email that comes to my phone. And that's the one thing, we'll get to it in a bit, but the reason a lot of the trainers signed on with us was for that very reason, is that in our industry, I think there's been a lag in customer service, so to speak, throughout the years, where it was difficult to get a hold of trainers. It was difficult to find out information on how you can get involved in horse racing, which is shocking to me. But all we did was really elevate our customer service and our expectations to a level of the general public. You know, you can't go to a restaurant or go to even a hotel or anywhere and expect the same service at a hotel you would in our industry. And we're just trying to show the people, the trainers and the establishment people of our industry, that I expect more. We expect more. I treat everybody like I would be treated. I would expect to be treated. I mean, it's the easiest way to treat people. You treat people how you expect to be treated, and everything will go just fine. So that's what we expect, and that's what we always strive for. So when you call me, you get a call back. When you email me, you will get an email back. And we make sure that we're very, very easy to come up to and talk to or get a hold of at all times.
I was specifically, I see it over there, Marie, just a moment. I was specifically referring to, if you go to the stable.ca, each horse has its own page.
Yep.
While it's in training. What could visitors to the site and investors and people just interested in seeing what's going on, what were they seeing on that page?
Oh, yeah. So what we did was, My brother does a lot of simulcasting throughout North America for various tracks, and he was testing out a drone one day at the farm, and I said, "That's really cool." And he was showing me how it works, and I said, "Geez, that'd be really cool to integrate with the training." We were always planning on videotaping the training, but certainly not with an airplane. So we put it in place that we were going to do it once a month at the start, and then we just ended up doing it every week. So when you go on the site and you click on the information of a horse, you'll see its breeding. You'll see commentary from me after every week's training. You'll see videos every single week of your horse under a drone. You'll see any sort of vet updates or any updates that are needed with that horse. But we make sure that everything that I know about that horse on that day, you know also. And again, it makes it easier when people call you and email you with questions when the answers are already right in front of them also. It's a much easier conversation, and it's something that should be done. And sure, we have growing pains and we need to have more stuff on there, but everything you need right now is there.
Okay, we're going to back up now because we have a question about choosing your yearlings.
Yep.
Anthony,
Oh, my.
I'm interested in the choosing process because several years ago, a group of large and very small,
Yep.
me being the very small, investors raised about $1 million to the purpose of which was to choose and put into training a group of yearlings and then resell them in February.
Yep.
The choosing, the results, it turned out, the operation was a success, but the patient died. But doing the choosing, we gave that over to Mark Lowe, and I've never seen a human being work so hard. He looked at every single yearling worth looking at, pedigree-wise, at every single sale. He sat from beginning to end of every sale.
I know the feeling.
His bladder, I don't know how it survived it, but it did. And, he really, really worked as hard as a human being could work. He chose some horses that turned out to be real good horses.
Yep.
The result was when we resold them, some of them did better, most of them did worse. But the results on the racetrack were very good, but we lost money. I'm just interested in how you go about choosing your horses.
So you make the most important point of horse racing right now, and that is, it is extremely difficult to make a business plan for horse racing. Overnight races or anything above, it is extremely difficult. So what we did was something much different. When we advertise and we market in the general public, we're not just saying you can buy a piece of a horse for $200 and we can get you $400 back. What we're saying is we can get you a piece of $200. You can come to the barn 1,000,000 times if you want. You can take pictures. You can come to the track. You can pet the horse. You can do whatever you want. You have carte blanche when it comes to being involved with the stable. The inclusiveness and the entertainment value alone is worth the money you're going to get. When we talk to people in the general public and they say, well, Mr. MacDonald, can I really buy a piece of a horse for $200 and will it really cost me $22.60 a month? It really will. And they said, well, I was going to go to the Great Wolf Lodge with my kids in 3 weeks' time. That was going to cost me maybe $700. But if you're telling me I can come out to the barn an infinite amount of times between now and qualifying, watch my horse train, pet my horse, feed it carrots and apples, bring my kids in and get pictures taken, that's something much better, because not only is that money going to an entertainment value cost, but your money's still working for you. You still have the opportunity to have a return on investment. By no means have I ever told anybody, listen, you invest with us and we will turn you a profit. I can't tell you that. We're going to work as hard as we can. We're going to be as professional as we can. We're going to show you something you've never seen before. We're going to do it in the best way we can. And at the end of the day, you have a chance to make a profit. And that's the difference between what most people did and what we do. Your gentleman, Mr. Lowe, he worked his butt off to try and find a business plan that wasn't there. He worked his butt off to try and buy a lottery ticket. And for me, we're not doing that. I'm not telling anybody, join up with us and we'll turn you a profit. You join up with us and you'll have the best time you ever had. And if you turn a profit, that would be fantastic also. So back to your question about choosing the horses. It's great. I'll go and look at all the confirmation. I'll look at the horse. I'll take it out of the stall. I'll look it over as best I can. I've been doing this since my eyes open. But at the same time, it's all about marketability. If I can sell that horse, if I can sell shares in that horse, and if that horse looks like a horse that's going to be good for the investment group, that's the horse we're going to be bidding on. And it's the horse I bought from you the other day. The gray horse I bought from your consignment the other day, I could have sold that horse 35 times by the time I left the sale. But because everybody in the general public knew it was inexpensive, it was affordable, and that was a great looking little horse. And we did.
Yeah, but my point is, let's say you're at Harrisburg.
Yep.
There's close to 1,000 yearlings being sold.
906.
Yeah. How many of those horses will you look at?
906.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
It's a lot of work.
I can't do it all myself. We'll have like 5 people there looking at them, and other people there that'll be looking at them for us that I trust. But at the end of the day, if we whittle it down to, and you make a great point, horses you can afford. So you're going to be able to look at 906. You're going to say there's likely 400 we can't afford, so that leaves 500. We're going to, well,
I disagree with you there. You're supposed to look at that other.
no, we're absolutely going to look at that 4. But it's one thing to pull the horse out of the stall, look at it closely. If it has fantastic breeding and its conformation is great, there's a pretty good chance we're not going to get a bid in. And that happened 161 times in Ohio the other day.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
And it should. But
Absolutely should,
But,
yeah.
but there's some that just
Slipped through the cracks 100%. And I think we bought 10 of them the other day. You know, and that's what our job is. You hit it right on the head. Is that what we're looking for is cracks in the system. We're looking for loopholes. We're looking for horses that fall through the cracks. And we have to. Because if I can buy you a $20,000 horse for $14,000, I can pass $6,000 worth of savings on to my clients. And that's exactly what we're doing. You hit it right on the head. Yep.
All right, we're here with Anthony MacDonald from thestable.ca. Anthony does have some information. Allison has it there in the blue shirt and the black sweater, so get her attention if you want one of the handouts. And we have a couple of questions up here for you.
So each horse that you purchase is a different price?
And it absolutely is, sir.
Every one.
Yep.
How soon, like after you buy, you say you sell these things with the same day you buy them. So how do I get in if you're selling them that quick?
So you make a very good point. What we did was we took our entire email list from last year, potential and current clients, and we sent out emails and we said, listen, here's the scoop. We want to buy some horses. If you want to get in on the ground floor and buy them at cost, you have an opportunity to turn a profit when the stable.ca starts up. So for instance, the horse we bought for $18,000 American landed with taxes and trucking, I don't know, around $26,000 Canadian, maybe 27. So at $270 a share, you can get in. That horse will, in all likelihood, after the ownership group speaks up, will likely start out at shares at $380, where we'll be selling them in general public. That's the far-reaching parts of the stable, is that we're allowing the people of this industry to get in on the bottom floor as we sell these shares to the general public. And I guess the only question everybody should have, and the question I have every single night I go to bed also, is, do you think I can do my job as good as I say I can? Do you think I can sell the shares to the general public the way I say I can? I'm absolutely positive I can, and very confident that I can, but you're going to have to wait and see like everybody else.
If there's money to be made, when does that get?
As soon as we sell the shares, the money gets doled out.
But you wait till the end of the year if the horse
Absolutely
makes money,
not.
then you wait till the end of the
No.
year.
Well, again, we try to make everything as quick moving as we can. We don't lock people in. We don't tell you we're going to give dividends yearly. If we sell your horse, if we sell 3% of your horse, you'll be getting a check within a week for 3% of that horse. And again, with the scope of this business, we now have 2 bookkeepers that are helping us out with us, because sending out the purse checks, sending out the dividends are difficult to stay on top of. But it's a great part of the site that's becoming difficult that we have to grow with. You know, it's my job from day one was to convince people like Murray that we were going to be able to find them fair market value for the horses if they didn't believe they got it. Our job was to convince investors to buy horses and send them to us to break. Not many people, if you're not from Canada, you may not know who I am. So I come up to you and I try to convince you to send me your horse to sell to the general public, which has never been done for the most part before, and break and train down your horse, and you don't have any idea who I am. I sound like a lunatic. But luckily, there's a lot of people that did send us horses. We had 25 to start last year. We have 19 yearlings that'll be in the barn Thursday morning. We'll probably double that by the time the sales are all over. And we have 4 other trainers that have come on board, and at least another 10 that have asked to. And people have asked me, why are you doing this? Because it's so difficult for people in this industry, the trainers at least, to see the forest for the trees. They can't see past what's going on. We need to get thousands of people involved in this industry. I can't do it by myself. But if we have 50 or 100 fractional stables over the next decade, you're going to see a real tangible change in horse racing that many of us have never seen, not in my lifetime anyway.
Who are your other trainers?
Right now we have Tony O'Sullivan, we have Paul Kelly, Andrew Harris, Kyle Fellows, and we have another 10 that we're looking at adding to our roster. The issue is, as you can imagine, once they're in, they're in. So I have to be very careful who we let inside the door, because clients that we're going to be procuring and bringing into harness racing need to be involved with somebody that's going to take very good care of them. So we have to make sure the people that are affiliated with the stable.ca are at the utmost in customer service and communications. So you're going to see a lot of trainers come on board over the next 2-3 months.
All right, we have a question right here, Jack.
Yeah, I'm a fellow Canadian horseman. I'm very much in favor of Anthony. I said that to him a few weeks ago. And going back to what Murray said, and Anthony said too, that you can't afford maybe a 30 or a 40 or a 200,000 or a 300,000. Mm-hmm. But a lot of these breeding farms, they have the expectation of getting those values.
Yep.
And when the bid falls, there is horses that are brought back home. And I'm sure that you would take them horses.
I just got one yesterday, actually, at the Flamborough sale. I opted to go to the Goshen sale in New York because when I looked at the catalogs, I saw a lot of value in New York, and I knew what would happen in Ontario. Our actual horse stock is way, way down. So when you have the first sale of the year at Flamborough, you have 100 and, how many was there, 50 horses, 60 horses, where there used to be twice that. I knew what was going to happen. There was going to be massive overbidding, and there just wasn't going to be value. So we did bid on some horses in Ontario. We were the underbidder on a nice little trotting colt. And I didn't know this, but apparently he struck somebody coming into the ring, and they actually tranquilized him. You know the horse? Yeah, he's in our barn now. So we were the underbidder on that horse, and the gentleman, 73-year-old man, trained horses his whole life. He called me that night, and he said, I don't know what I was doing. He said, I should have just let him go. He said, I just couldn't. He was just such a nice colt. And I said, well, I'm glad you called. So he came the next day, and he dropped the colt off, and we had him broke the next day. So Delmar J is his name. He's in our barn right now, and we have 5 other horses that breeders have sent us. And the way we set this up to begin with was that breeders did have an outlet. The bigger farms can afford to work on ratios. So you lose on one, you gain on another. It works out at the end of the day. You're a small breeder. You can't do that. You can't sell a $20,000 horse for $11,000. You can't take a $9,000 loss. I can't guarantee you we'll get your money out, but we got everybody their money out last year. Every single share we were asked to sell last year, every single one, we sold it at exactly what we were asked to sell it for. So, I mean, if you're a breeder out there and you know that you're taking your horses to the sale, just take a second, put a price on your horse, understand what he's worth or she's worth, and don't take less than that. I really firmly believe, and I told the gentleman, I was the underbidder on your horse, but you did the right thing. You did the right thing by demanding what you wanted for your horse, and I'm happy he's in our barn now. And that is what we were originally set up to do, and that's what we'll continue to do also.
Like I said, I'm very much in favor of this. I've always been a person that wants to bring people into the business. Why this afternoon is there going to be 55,000 people here? Because they love this business.
That's right.
And they want to get involved in this business, but they don't know how to get in. And over the years, I worked for Billy Houghton, Tony Alanya, and Irv Miller. They all had 100-horse stables,
Yep.
and they didn't do it all themselves. They had
Nope.
people that promoted them. And they have to have a big, we have to bring the people out there, bring the children out here. And 10 years from now, they're all going to be coming back to the Little Brown Jug.
And that's true. That's true. I mean, when you look at, think of all the trainers you know. If you know any trainers personally out there, think of all the trainers you know that are hardworking, good people, just can't communicate with the general public. They just really have a tough time connecting with the outside world, as we call it in the industry. Think of all those people. That's exactly why we let trainers under our umbrella, because if they can't speak for themselves, I'll be happy to speak for them, because the more people we get involved in this industry, the better it is for everybody in this industry, not just the trainers, not just the breeders, not just the racetracks, but the fans. Because you know what's going on. You see the tracks closing, you see the scares in Florida with decoupling. Things are only going to get worse if we don't take charge of what is ours. This is our industry, and we are going to be the ones to save it. Certainly not the racetracks or the casinos or the governments. We will. And if the good, hard-working trainers in this industry need a voice for them to stick up for them, market for them, advertise them, and get people in, then I'm happy to do it, and I will.
Yeah, thank you so much there, Anthony. Making some great points. We have a question here in the second row.
Hi. You were talking about the yearlings that you think kind of fall through the cracks
Yep.
price-wise and you get them. We were at the Ohio sale, too. We came in a day early. We looked at a lot of horses, saw a lot of splints, saw a lot of horses towed in, towed out. What are the things that are how do you deal with that? Are splints acceptable? What's the deciding factor for you when you're looking at a horse that you hope is going to go through the ring for less?
Well, again, a guy like Murray's been in the game forever. So you've seen horses that tow out, that race, that tow in, that race out, that have splints that race. So for me, I take a look at the catalog beforehand and I put a rough price on the horse. Then I'll go and I'll pull the horse out of the stall and I'll reevaluate that horse. If that horse, unless you're talking about some extreme cases where they're really towed out, they're really towed in, they have some serious conformation issues, we'll still look at the horse. I mean, again, it comes back to marketability. If you show me a $30,000 horse with a splint that tows in a bit that I can buy for $9,000, he's likely going to be coming home with me. And for me, that affords me the opportunity to be upfront with our clients and say, listen, this horse does tow in, he does have a splint. This is a really well-bred horse, and I think we're going to take a shot on him. That horse will sell quicker than anybody.
And do you keep them after you get them broke and get them trained down to the races? Do you actually go on ahead and race them?
Yeah. So, again, with the way that the contracts switch over, there's a lull there of only, well, not even a day. But the reason we do that is because we want people that may not want Anthony and Amy MacDonald to race their horse feel comfortable sending us a horse. Because I still want to train your horse down. I still want to be able to sell shares of it. And if the ownership group, or if it's a singular owner, the owner wants to send the horse somewhere else, so be it. I have no problem with that.
But if you have 101% owners,
Yep.
how do you get a decision like that made?
You have to be political. So, I mean, in a number of cases, well, one case in point, a gentleman from Ohio bought a nice little pacing filly in the last Ohio sale. I think he paid $4,000 for her. So he was looking to sell her. And what happened was we had sold shares. We'd sold so many shares that week, I was worried I was going to run out. So I'm sitting in bed with my daughter, and I finished reading her book, and I was looking on Facebook, and there's this horse for sale. It's a Charlie Barley filly. I didn't even know what a Charlie Barley was. So I'm like, okay. So I read down, and the guy said, you know, him and his partner had bought the horse, and he really just wanted his money back. You know, he just wasn't working out for whatever reason. And I'm like,
Right.
So it broke down. You know, like, okay. So I call him. Jason Melillo was his name. Great guy. Fantastic guy. He said, no, man, I swear. He said, this is a nice filly. It's not working out with my friend. And I think it just to take the pressure off, I just as soon sell her. So I explained what we did. And he said, you know, do you think this is a filly you could sell? I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. You send her up here. We'll go with her for a month. We'll put a price on her accordingly. And if you want to sell her through us, fine. If not, we'll find an owner for her up here somewhere. He said, okay. He sent her up. We sold all the shares of her in about 7 weeks for $12,000 at a price point of $12,000 Canadian, which was much higher than he wanted.
Right.
So I ended up buying the last 31% with my partner. She qualified her first qualifying day in 2 minutes. She come in last quarter in 26-1.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a really nice filly. So we had a couple of people call, but again, we had 15 owners. They didn't want to sell her, and I really didn't want to either. I was excited to race her.
Sure.
So we entered her in Northfield. Right before we entered her, a gentleman came to see me, and he said, I want to buy pieces of Bourbon and Barley was her name. She'd raced here the other day. And I said, I'm not selling my shares, but I'll give you the email list of the people involved, and you can see if you can find some shares. So he emailed everybody. He bought 10% off a gentleman in Manitoba for $7,000 and 10% off another gentleman for $7,500, I think. It was all private sale. We raced her first start. She drew the 8-hole in Northfield. She was second in 55 and raced great. And we sold her 3 days later for 110,000 American.
Wow.
And everybody was pumped. That doesn't happen all the time.
No.
There's lots of horses we turned out that didn't race, but that's the opportunity. We found a horse that was worth the money. We raced it. It turned out great for the investors, and that's what it's all about. Is that and the people that we did race their horses a couple of times and maybe didn't make money, and we decided to turn them out to let them mature. They're fine too,
Right.
because they said they weren't in it for the return.
Mm-hmm.
They were in it for the entertainment. They want what's best for the horse, and we were able to do that. As a horseman, we would always be, you'd be tinkering with the horse to try and get it right for the rest of its 2-year-old season. We don't have to now, because these people are involved and they want to see the horse achieve, the best, become the best possible horse it can. And if turning it out for a few months means that'll happen, then they're happy to do that. I left Vernon Downs one night and I pulled over on the side of the road at 1:30 in the morning and I emailed the entire ownership group of a horse. And I said, I really don't want to keep chasing these horses all over New York. And the filly just paced 55, come the last half in 56. She finished 6th. She's a really nice filly, but if we want to see what she can really do, I'd like to give her 3 months off. I'd say by 2:30 in the morning, every single person, and there's like 19 people on her, every single person had emailed back and said, absolutely, you do what's best for that horse. And that's a real breath of fresh air for a
That
trainer
sure
and a
is.
horseman. You don't have to deal with, let's try and race her a few more. It's such a great thing being involved with these groups. It really is, and I'm tremendously lucky. And my wife and I, we love every minute of it.
That's great. Do you keep them into their 3-year-old year, or do you have a cutoff point where you
No, there's
sell,
no cutoff.
or do you just?
I mean, we have a couple of horses that aren't really going to make it. They're just mediocre horses. And
Right.
I've had some discussions with the groups about, listen, we'll wait another few weeks, and if it doesn't work out, then we'll sell the horse or we'll put it in a sale. It's a tough thing to do when you own 1% of a horse and you've come 12 times to feed it carrots and apples, and you find out it's just not going to make a racehorse.
Right.
But at the end of the day, most people in the groups respect the groups. They understand that if the horse isn't going to become an effective racehorse, maybe it's best for the group just to turn the horse over. And again, that was my biggest fear, is that we'd get one of these larger groups and have a horse that just wasn't going to make it, and it would become a disaster. It's quite the opposite. Everybody's very, very professional about doing it. I think the idea, the flexibility that comes with being in business with so many strangers,
Right.
you don't form that same need and want, and I can't speak enough for the people.
I'm
that are
very
involved.
happy for you. I'm glad it's working out.
Yeah, it really is, and I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're getting a little short on time. We'll take any more questions before we switch over to John Campbell next. And just to remind you, we're with Anthony MacDonald with thestable.ca. He will be hanging out after the session, too, if you have any questions. So don't think if you didn't get your question answered here that he's going to run
Yeah,
off,
I'll be
because
around.
He
I'll be
came
around all
down to speak with you today.
2 questions, really. I understand that the government of Ontario is pulling casino revenue away from
No,
racing.
they already did.
And that has to figure in your planning. And the second issue is, how do you use quantitative analysis, data, computers, when you're running through the prospects at a sale? You know about Billy Ball and how American baseball has been transformed by the quants.
It's very, very exactly like that. Unfortunately, at the moment, but no, I mean, when you're looking, I know what the horse is worth before the sale. I know what a large amount of moving parts on every single day in the stable, and they're sale. So for me, what algorithms do I use? They're set in my brain. They're hardwired in right now. Mind that before the horse steps in the ring, we know where we're going. At the same time, if it wasn't for that, destructive. There you go. I didn't pay him. Murray's looking to take a bite out of me again.
All right, Murray. This is the last question.
Very well experiencing. Do you have problems?
You know what? I thought nightmare too, and it's been the best thing. My wife, see, in Canada, I can email you a bill, and you can cross the borders. And so for Europe, we have people that pay with PayPal, In the States, people just simply we're put. But on the 25th, in 48 hours, over 90% low paying before. Literally the opposite. It's been fantastic.